Hey, Rod, this is part three of our first lesson on units of measurement. We want to talk about fractions for this last part, and fractions have a big part to play in the imperial system. 1 yard is 3 feet, 1 foot is 12 inches, so it automatically kind of lends itself to fractions. So again, people of my age, we grew up with fractions. We grew up with 9/16ths and 3/8 and 1/2. So that was just kind of how we grew up doing math. For us, one of the most important skills that we have to look at is how do you put things into simplest form? And the key thing we have here is divide equally. So you divide 12 and 16 by 2 and then divide by 2. We take 12 and 16 and divide them both by 4. Now, one of the things that I linked in our website is something called a fraction calculator. And what I like about this fraction calculator is that you can simplify fractions, right? You can put fractions in and simplifies, and it shows you what we're doing for the steps. It says 12 is divided by 4 and 16 is divided by 4 is 3/4. So I really like the fraction calculator because it helps us show the work. So when you're doing your simplifying, if you can't think of what you want to divide by, you can always pop into the fraction calculator. But this step right here, what are you dividing by? That's the step that I need to see. That's the work that's real important to us in regards to simplifying fractions. So we can simplify because we can divide, numbers by the same thing. Question two, how do you compare things? Well, you compare things by making them the common denominator because that means you have common sizes. And how do you make things equal? Well, in question A, we divided both the top and bottom by common numbers. But in questions 2 and 3, when we're adding, subtracting, or when we're comparing, we can multiply tops and bottoms. We can multiply numerators and denominators by the same thing. So if I want to compare 3/4, 7/12, and 2/3, I often look for the lowest common denominator. In this case, it's going to be 12. 4 times 3 is 12, and 3 times 4 is 12. So it makes my denominator all out of 12. And if I have 4 times 3, then I have to go 3 times 3. Whatever times the bottom by times the top by. So this 3/4 here in purple is the same thing as 9/12. This 2/3 here in blue, 3 times 4, 2 times 4 is this 8/12 in blue. So now I have things, I can put them in order from smallest to largest. And I can do the same thing in B. I chose size 16, 8 times 2, 5 times 2, 10/16 in purple, 4 times 4, 3 times 4, 12/16 in blue. Order from smallest to largest. And then we want to add and subtract fractions. It's the same thing about having a common denominator. Size 8, 3/8 plus 1/8. It's like having shoes. You have 3 pairs of size 8 shoes, another pair of size 8 shoes. You have 4 size 8s. What's important in fractions is we always simplify our answer. So divide by 2 twice or divide by 4 to give you 1/2. So we want to make sure that when we're talking about adding, subtracting, we talk about like sizes. 5/8 and 1/2. Easy denominator to work with is eighths. When you work with 5, 6, and 3/4, an easy size to work with, an easy denominator to work with is 12s. When you work with 7/8 and 2/3, an easy denominator to work with is 24. And again, when you're finding your common denominator, you're just looking for what do I times the bottom by? If it's 8 times 3, it has to be 7 times 3. So right here in green, 7/8 is the same as 21 over 24. Here in purple, 3 times 8, 2 times 8, that's the same thing as 16 over 24. So fraction-wise then, the size is 24, so the 24 doesn't change. That's how many, that's the size I'm talking about. I had 21 of them. Someone gave me 16 more. I have 37 24ths. I have 37 size 24s, and that doesn't simplify. So same thing if you went to your fraction calculator because you couldn't find a common denominator, you could come up here and you could put 7, and you could put 8, and you could put 2, and you can put 3, and we can do a calculate, and it's going to show us how to find a common denominator. In fact, it even gives us kind of a neat little visual. So 7/8 and 2/3, 7 times 3, 8 times 3, 2 times 8, 3 times 8. See, it's showing a common denominator of 24, and it just shows 21 plus 16. They also change theirs to a mixed number. We are totally fine leaving it as a mixed number. All right, so there's a real quick, real quick update on fractions.